Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome to the Muslim Philanthropy Podcast. My name is Ola Mohamed, and I'm the Nonprofit and Social Impact Fellow here at American Muslim Community Foundation. Today, I have as our guest Kuhail, who is the Community Coordinator at Build Palestine. Mais, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Hala.
Mais, thank you especially for taking the time to talk right now, because as I understand, you are currently in Ramallah, Palestine, and Build Palestine is based there as well. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. The team is based here in Ramallah.
That's great. Mais, our heart goes out to you and our support goes out to you and all of our Palestinian brothers and sisters. And I know that's saying so little because you're going through events that are so traumatic. Millions of people around the world, including us, have been watching what has unfolded in Palestine over the past few weeks, first in Sheikh Jarrah and Jerusalem, and then in Palestine at large. And many of us have been moved and devastated by what's been happening. And we've seen an unprecedented global mobilization in support of the Palestinian cause and the Palestinian voice, which is great. Some would say too little and too late, but still great to see. And here at AMCF, we feel like the least we could do in support of our Palestinian brothers and sisters is to take some time to shed light on the work that Palestinian organizations are doing every day and have been doing for a long time to help Palestinians. So we'd like to take some time today to get to know you and to get to know Build Palestine and what you do, and of course, how we can support you. So Mais, if you can start us out by telling us what you do at Build Palestine and how Build Palestine got started, what you're all about.
Thank you so much again for having me and for offering us this opportunity. And I just wanted to say that it's not saying a little, it's saying a lot for you to be able to provide this kind of support and this kind of visibility to Build Palestine and to Palestinians in general. So thank you again. I wanted to start off by talking a bit about Build Palestine. We're an organization that mainly works to connect supporters from around the world with social impact projects here in Palestine. And Build Palestine started off in 2016 as a crowdfunding platform, actually. So the co-founders started it as a way to, again, connect supporters with different social impact projects here, but through a main tool, which was crowdfunding at the time. But slowly, the team started to see that there was a need for more social entrepreneurship focused mission to Build Palestine, and to the need for support to be provided for social entrepreneurs here in Palestine. So slowly the program started to change. The team started testing different projects, different programs, until we reached here, where we're a support organization to social impact projects and enterprises here in Palestine. And we offer multiple programs throughout the year to provide this kind of support to change makers here on the ground, because we believe the power is in the people doing the work here on the ground in Palestine. And there is a lot of talent, there is a lot of, aspirations, ambitions for people here. And there are at the same time, a lot of people abroad, whether they're Palestinians, allies, supporters, who want to offer their support in one way or another. Sometimes that support can be through financial means. At other times, it's through sharing expertise or volunteering. So we make sure to create that connection between the global community and the local community, or the local change makers here on the ground again. And the purpose is overall to just amplify the impact that's being done.
That's amazing. And can you mention some of the social innovation projects that you've supported either in the past or that are ongoing right now? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, definitely. I'll mention actually a couple that we're working with right now. We just launched our most recent program, which is called the Impact Network. And we're accepting, different cohorts every quarter of the year. And currently we have a group of amazing enterprises For example, we have a platform that is called Hakini, which kind of mimics the work of BetterHelp, if you're familiar with that, providing mental health services to Palestinians and making it easy for people to access mental health services. We have a company that's called TibFact, which work to kind of in a way like a web tip or to provide medical services and medical advice to people, and they're based in Gaza. Another example is Sawaid 19, which is a platform that mobilizes volunteers and connects them with different projects and different opportunities to volunteers. I can go on and on. There are about 9 to 10 enterprises this cohort, but you can go onto our website and learn about them more, because I could go on for hours to talk about these amazing projects.
I'm sure you can, and I wouldn't blame you, because they all sound like really amazing projects and initiatives. And I want to say that what I love personally about Build Palestine was exactly as you mentioned, that it is a grassroots effort. We often hear about places like Palestine, large, humanitarian organizations working, handing out food or medical aid. And of course, those play an important role, and we don't, underestimate their work. But it's very refreshing to see an organization that's built by Palestinians to solve the problems that Palestinians are facing from the inside. And of course, who better to understand the context of these very complex issues than the Palestinians that are living the situation themselves day in, day out. So absolutely, I hope that our viewers are moved to support an organization like Build Palestine. I want to say that I just love the name too. It just inspires, a lot of optimism and a lot of creativity and like strength, that the Palestinian people are creative, are strong, are entrepreneurs and thinkers. They just unfortunately might not have the support they need because of the situation and the lack of resources. So thank you, Mais, for sharing that about the work. If you can describe a little bit what has been Build Palestine's response to specifically the events that have unfolded over the past few weeks. Many of us that know the background of the Palestinian situation know that it's not like this popped out of nowhere. This is nothing new. This is ongoing and continues. But what has been your specific response to the events, and what's your long-term vision for continuing the work at Build Palestine?
Yes, so we've been saying this quite a lot, actually, is that what's happening is nothing new to Palestine or Palestinians. People like me, for example, in my age or generation, this is all we've known. This is what we were born into. But recent events have quite literally shaken everyone here on the ground. And we've been quite in response mode here at Build Palestine, trying to figure out what the best way to respond is. And we decided it's actually to continue doing the work that we're doing. Again, connecting people who are reaching out and have been reaching out by the tens, by the hundreds to our, DMs on Instagram, website, email, everywhere, just to ask, how can I help? And people have, sometimes are shaken by emotions, but also they've been reaching out, trying to find, financial ways, sure, to help, but also ways to connect with Palestinians here on the ground, because really this has affected everyone here. So our response was, as I said, to continue doing the work that we do. And we have started coming up with different resources to connect people with different organizations here. So we published an article which includes different organizations that people can either donate to or support, whether they work, for emergency relief campaigns, or organizations working on amplifying or promoting the Palestinian narrative, organizations working similarly to us within the social entrepreneurship scene. So these different resources that people can reach, we've compiled an article including them, and we're continuing to update that as we go along. In addition to, again, connecting people with opportunities to volunteer. We've had designers reach out and say, how can I help? Like, just connect me with any organizations. I'd like to offer my, design services for free to help people, better convey their message. Similarly to other people offering their help with translation to content, etc. So our response was to just continue doing the work that we're doing, and that's what we plan to continue doing in the long run.
That's so great to hear that there's been an outpouring of support and people reaching out to volunteer, and I hope that momentum doesn't die out. And you mentioned, since you mentioned a list of organizations that Build Palestine has compiled, are there any that you want to highlight or bring up, or where can people find that list on your website?
Sure. So that list is in our blog section. It's our most recent blog, and we'll be publishing a version in Arabic very shortly in the next few days. A few organizations to highlight are, for example, Grassroots Jerusalem, which is an organization that works year-round to promote Palestinian narrative, Palestinian, economy in East Jerusalem, especially Palestinian ethical tourism. And they have an ongoing crowdfunding campaign right now. So if people want to check that out, we've also included other resources like, for example, Mecca, Middle East Children's Alliance, the PCRF, different organizations that have responses going on at the moment. So these are just a few organizations that we've highlighted in the blog, but many as well included there. So if anyone would like to check that out, feel free to head to the blog section on our website.
Perfect. And that website is listed under you, buildpalestine.com. I want to ask you, Mais, shift a little bit gears to a little bit more of a broad question. You kind of touched upon this when you mentioned that people are reaching out, and designers, other people that want to volunteer their skills. If there is, a young advocate out there, or a seasoned nonprofit professional, or just professional in general, who's been moved by the events they've seen in the news about Palestine and want to advocate, or just have been moved to do nonprofit work in general, what advice might you have for them, whether they want to do this on a volunteer basis or in terms of a career?
Definitely the first advice that comes to mind is to just reach out, whether it's to Palestinian organizations, Palestinians, anyone that that could be of benefit. We always say, as Palestinians, to all of our, even personally to my foreign friends, I say, if you're stuck, if you don't understand something, if you're just don't know exactly how to help, just reach out to your Palestinian friends. If you have Palestinian family, just reach out to Palestinians, because they're the ones who are there. They're the ones who are affected firsthand during most of the time. So just reach out to them and ask them how best you can help. But definitely, reach out to people, but reach out to organizations as well, because there is a need for support. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be financial or through donations. It can be, as I mentioned, through online volunteering or virtual volunteering opportunities or support. And it can be extended in multiple ways, and it can be appreciated. It's really overwhelming how appreciative we've been, and how much support we've received in the past few weeks specifically. And organizations really appreciate that, and individuals really appreciate that. So just reach out, and you'll receive a response from whoever.
That's amazing. I love your advice to listen, because I think that's advice that I've been hearing a lot, whether it's in the context of the Palestinian cause, or even here in the US, the Black Lives Matter movement. There's been this push of, we need to self-educate about these causes. And the best way to self-educate is to reach out to the people that are living these struggles, and to understand from them really what their concerns are, and really how best to support them. So that's very powerful. Thank you. Thank you for emphasizing that. I want to know if you have, since you are somebody who's living it, we would like to hear from you. What are your reflections? What is it like to grow up in Ramallah? And what would you have to say to somebody who is on the outside and maybe new or maybe surprised by what they've seen in the news about Palestine?
Yeah, so like I was saying before, for people, at least in my generation, we were born and raised into this. So for most of our lives, if you don't leave Palestine, this is all you know. All you know is the separation wall or the segregation wall. All you know is checkpoints, or like, you know, experiencing the first or second intifada for people our age, or the uprising. So you grow up in a way normalizing everything that you see until you realize it's not normal. And that's when it really kind of hits you. You know, we don't talk about PTSD here because people are still undergoing or going through different types of trauma. And the way that, you know, at least for me, that was unfolded was when I traveled abroad, and when I crossed from, and I say this story a lot, I crossed in a bus from Spain to France without anyone asking where my visa was, where my passport was, without crossing any sort of, you know, border checkpoint. Whereas here, when I go from Ramallah to Jericho, which are two cities in the West Bank, I'd have to, you know, sometimes stop at a checkpoint and show my ID and maybe say a reason why I'm leaving Ramallah and going to Jericho. So I feel like I've lost a bit of track of the question, but I guess what I would say is, again, hear what Palestinians have to say. And if you can visit, I always say that I give this advice to all of my friends, whether they're Palestinians or foreigners. If you can visit Palestine and see firsthand what is happening here, please do so. I know now with COVID it's difficult, but once this is all over, and if you can visit and come see, and Palestinians would take you with open arms. I mean, you could find hundreds, if not thousands, of Palestinians who'd be willing to show you around and you know, show you the reality that we live day to day. And at the same time, I don't want this to be kind of, you know, a message of despair or anything. We as Palestinian people are very resilient. We're very hopeful still, despite everything that we're going through. And we're very hopeful, especially during this time, with all the support that we've seen from across the world. And you know, this is the first time in probably a decade that our narrative, or that we've had such control of our narrative. And it's thanks to, you know, social media, of course, but our voices are being heard very clearly and very loudly. So just an advice to everyone is just to, you know, follow Palestinian, people on social media, amplify the voices of Palestinians, and continue talking about Palestine in your daily conversation. We've been seeing this meme a lot, is that it's fine if your family dinner gets ruined, just talk about Palestine, discuss it with your family and with your friends.
No, very, very well put. I think definitely the conversation needs to continue, and I really hope that happens, because I've even noticed and seen since the so-called ceasefire was announced last Friday that you kind of saw Palestine kind of slip off the headlines a little more. It feels like it's still going strong in social media, so I really hope, you know, that people push this forward, push this cause forward, and continue listening to Palestinians like you, Mais, and supporting organizations like Build Palestine that are doing amazing things to help our Palestinian brothers and sisters day in, day out, whether, you know, Palestine's making the headlines or not. And, you know, I think that it's amazing that you mentioned also that your personal experience. I think that's very powerful. And your advice to go and to visit Palestine, you know, I would second that. Anybody who gets the opportunity, it is a privilege, because, as you said, Palestinians themselves don't have that freedom of mobility sometimes. And I had the privilege of visiting in 2007 as a college student. And I second, you know, all that you said. Palestinians are very warm and open people, and want peace, and want justice, and want security for their families. So Build Palestine's helping making that happen. So thank you. Mais, I want to thank you again so much for this time that you've taken to talk. And I hope that our viewers have been moved to reach out to your website, learn more, but also support with the crowdfunding efforts and the other efforts that you have. And one way that they can do that, if anyone is unfamiliar with AMCF's work, is through a donor-advised fund. So I'd like to put in a pitch for that. Donor advised funds are basically accounts that donors could open with AMCF to help donate to different organizations. But instead of it being just a direct donation, it is a way to more strategically manage your philanthropic giving or your charitable giving. And these accounts are better than direct donations because they basically allow you to invest the money that goes into the accounts, and it grows with time, therefore growing your capacity to give and support organizations like Build Palestine and hundreds of others that are in our nonprofit directory. So I really encourage people to take a look at that as an option to support Build Palestine and tons of other organizations. You can find out more information at amuslimcf.org, and the information about donor advised funds is under the donors tab. Miss, is there anything else you'd like to mention or say? This has been such an amazing and inspiring conversation. I'd love to hear if you have any other final thoughts.
Just thank you so much again for having me and for featuring Build Palestine, and you know, power to everyone who's fighting for social justice wherever it is in the world.
Thank you so much, Mais.
Thank you.
And of course, we've had a conversation actually with Build Palestine's executive director, Lama just a few weeks ago. Lama spoke to our director of development and philanthropy, Muhi Khwaja, on the Ramadan Fast 5 Minutes. So be sure to check that out as well.